Alright, hello everybody. We got a much smaller episode than last week's. This episode is a bit smaller in scale. We also switch over from characters during this episode, but there are a lot of good things. We finally get to find out what's been weighing on Canute after all this time, after the years of battling in England and taking over England, becoming the king. Overall, this is a pretty good episode. It's a bit dark in some certain respects, but definitely, well, maybe I should say that. It's not as dark as some of the other subject material we've been getting in this show, but it's also not as dark as, I'm not talking about, killing and raping babies or some weird shit like that. It's not that dark, but some, food for thought in this episode, just like all the other ones, honestly. It's just another continuation of the things that we're going to get and it's coming soon, the particular event that's going to start the cause of, all this chaos that's going to happen to our boys. I've alluded to all this times. They've been really stretching it out, though. Honestly, I honestly feel it should have already happened. So it's probably gonna go over. Definitely, actually, the 12 episode mark. I thought they were gonna keep it to 12 episodes doing this arc, but this arc is honestly just really long anyway. And then after this, they're gonna switch over to the Floki arc probably, and then we'll get into that. So last episode, obviously, we had the final revelation of Thorfinn's new goal, and we're leaning into that. So it's been a few years apparently since they've been on the farm. Uh, in the title episode, it said the summary has been 3 years. Now I don't exactly remember if that's true from the manga. Has it really been 3 years from start to finish? So that's they've been skipping some things, but not really. It's just sort of weird time skipping. That's definitely still faithful to the adaptation of the story. But it's just wow, really 3 years? So our boys are a bit beefier, a bit older. So we come in at the start here. Our boys Thorfinn and Einar are still working on doing their farm. They're all their troubles are really basically behind them. Probably still getting bullied, but at least that situation that happened in the last episode is not lasting in any way, shape, or form. I knew it wasn't, but it's just funny that it isn't. So anyway, they're working on the farm. They're getting ready really to get more crops. And then apparently they've been in these 3 years they've had tons of crops, and they're basically at the point where Master Ketel talks to them. He's like, "Listen, boys, your freedom, you're almost there." Guys, literally, and he literally tells them when he comes up to them, you're pretty much by tomorrow or next week or whatever, and you guys are gonna be free. Thorfinn doesn't really know how to react to that. The Einar is just obviously super surprised because this is exactly what he wants. He wants to be free, obviously. Einar's still sort of having little bits of trouble about what he wants to do. He has a goal now, even though obviously the ultimate goal is just to become free and not be slaves. Now he wants to figure out what to do with his life in general. So obviously Einar and Thorfinn here are super happy about what everything is doing. Now, there's a particular thing here that Ketel is going on a journey. He's going on a journey to, let me get the name here. Believe it's called Jelling. That's correct. So Jelling is a land somewhere in Denmark or the Viking territory. After this is going to be, or maybe even another episode after this as well. It's going to be the ultimate episode where all this fighting occurs. So we go into Jelling. It just so happens that they're going there to see the king. King Harold, King of Denmark. So we have King Canute now, who is King of England, and now we have Canute's brother, who is King Harold. King Harold was aforementioned in the first season, even in a few episodes in this season as well. So obviously you can tell there's going to be some clashing of egos here, maybe. It's going to be way different than you would expect, though. Actually, and this is where the dark parts actually come. All this shit that's been happening. So we get a little title card here. We find out what Canute has been doing all this while after taking over England, basically. He's also coming because Harold is sick, so he's coming directly from England. He's going to go visit his brother, Harold, which is all fine and dandy. Canute has some fond memories of Harold. Harold was always a very kind brother to Canute, while back in the day when Canute was a weak little bitch. But now he's a big old strong boy. He's got big old pepperoni nipples, I bet. A giant, large, veiny, bulbous penis. Canute's been fucking all the bitches, trust me. And so he's just coming down here to pay his respects to his brother, who's extremely ill. He has some memories, him and his brother playing this game that people play here. It's a nice little like sideshow of like what's to come, just giving the impression of their relationship before they got older and they started like the world starting affecting them more directly. It started affecting Harold first because he was the older child, and then Canute like got roped into it basically. Now Harold doesn't know that Canute basically conspired to kill his father, their father. It doesn't really matter for this episode because it's not like Harold can really speak in this episode. And we're gonna see it very clearly soon. So Canute's gonna go to his brother. They're gonna have a little chat. Now, as we can see here, Harold is essentially on his deathbed. He is dying. He's very sick. There's been lots of talk about who's going to inherit his throne because Harold himself does not have an heir. He doesn't have a child. So obviously, it would go to his brother. Now, what you might not know is that this is actually the first appearance of their sister right here. She's right there on the right. That's their sister. I think it is literally just her appearance. It's also like her first mention ever. I don't remember her being mentioned in the first season. This is she's not important at all. It's just, they have a sister they'd never mentioned. So this is extremely important. Extremely important for Canute's psyche, in fact. So as he's there holding King Harold's hand, we get a little, King Harold is like, literally, I was waiting for you. I'm giving you the kingdom of Denmark. I'm handing it over to you. And in this scene here, we see a slight grimace from Canute here, keeping his composure. There it is, that very slight smile. Let me see if I can get a standing. It's gonna be hard to like capture that, but there it is. This very slight smile, as if this is exactly what Canute wanted all along. Highly suspicious of Canute. This is where we finally get to see what Canute's been up to. So as he's talking to his brother, he sees the vestige of King Sween, his head, his father, and this is very important. It's his father. It's basically this head here. King Swing is the conscience of Canute. There's a lot of like metaphysical concepts going into like these last few episodes where we're like going into our inner psyches, trying to figure out our own problems, and this is Canute's problem. It's very devastating to him, and it's kind of dark. He basically killed his own brother. This happens a lot back, when we didn't have like the Industrial Revolution. Brothers would kill brothers, kings would kill kings, family members would kill family members, all for the purpose of gaining power. So this is what Canute has done. He is very adept at using poison to kill his enemies. And Canute has done that himself for some way, shape, or form. We don't know the exact details, but Canute somehow slipped poison into maybe Harold's food or drink, causing him to get ill. Some sort of slow-acting poison. Maybe he needs a couple of tries to get him like really sick, up until the point where we're at now. That's the whole point of this scene, is Thorfinn trying to reconcile the fact that yes, he has killed his brother, all for the purpose of taking control of literally Denmark and England. Canute has his ambitions have increased dramatically, and we know this just from like the last few episodes, that Canute has been growing substantially in power, and this is like a big, and this is obviously like a huge deal. If anyone knew like what happened here, that Canute would kill his brother, all hell is gonna break loose, right? This is not like honorable for like things at these times. So these things happen, but if they're found out, you'd be more than just ostracized, right, for killing your own blood just to gain more power. It's incredibly heartbreaking, actually. That's why I say it's kind of dark. Now Canute himself, this is the part of like his consciousness again taking hold, and he can't really even believe it himself. All the things that he's done just to get like where he is. He's done a lot of heinous shit. Now we haven't seen all of it, but it's very well implied. He's done a lot of horrible things to get to where he is. Then now, this is where it comes into cursed head. The weight of the crown is going to weigh heavily upon Canute's head in the future. It's going to be drastic. Now, he's sort of in like a weird like trance here while he's having this scene talking to King Swing. Like his head is basically emulating his brother's, and he's sort of out of it. This is not something he planned for. Obviously, Canute still has feelings. He obviously didn't want to do this, but this things that he understands that having two kings is going to cause problems later in the future. So his reasoning is like, I have to do this now to take control of everything now so there won't be more bloodshed later on in the future, which is part of his goal, which we know is to create a land of peace. And you can't have peace if you have two kings. Obviously, a conflict will arise. This is like standard thinking back, before diplomacy was like at its apex where it is like now, right? Where we have like thousands of countries. Most of them don't fight, but we all have like tensions between each other. And there's obviously like shit going on behind the scenes that me myself, normal people aren't privy to because our governments won't acknowledge that fact. But it happens. We all know it happens. Same thing with here. But it's just more straightforward essentially. But obviously, Canute's using underhanded tactics to get what he wants right now. So he's in a trance. He's zoned out, and this is like we're getting like super deep into like his psyche here. Looking at his crown, literally talking to the vestige of his father, while to himself basically, and it's quite like Canute's mind is. Oh, it's a bit, as you can see the parallels between him and Thorfinn. Thorfinn's a bit less stable than Canute is. Canute is stable, but he's also dealing with, he's also like deep into the darkness. The darkness is like clearing his mind, but it's also making him do heinous things. He has the weight of the crown on his head. He's deep into the abyss. Thorfinn was there, but now he's like sort of switched. Now he's trying to head towards the light, trying to find a better way to handle things. But this is the way that Canute sees how he has to create world peace, or just peace within the known world as it is now. It's also quite funny. He refuses food from the people here at this place because he thinks that they're using poison and they might use poison to try and kill him. So he's quite paranoid, actually. As all like people who use these kind of underhanded tactics and worrying about their enemies trying to poison them or do backstabby things. Canute is now one of those people. He's very paranoid of these facts, and he should be, obviously, because he's doing it himself. So why wouldn't he be? If he could do it, why couldn't someone else do it, right? So Canute has lost a lot of trust after all of these things he has done. And it's not good for him psychologically, but we're gonna get to that much later in this arc, where we find him in the big event. But overall, this was a pretty great episode. It was a nice setup. We're still in the setup stage. Still, after 10 episodes, still in the setup stage. All these setup episodes have been really good. Listen, this entire arc is characterization. I know there's not a lot of like story progress. There is. Maybe not like as much as we would want. There's not a lot of fighting. But again, this is the character building arc that's going to represent the foundation of the future of the Vinland Saga. Basically, it's pretty, it's everything, and there's more of that later on too in some other arcs. But this is like the big foundation step. This is the first like big stepping stone between getting to like where we here now into our ultimate goal, which is Vinland, going to Vinland. And if you didn't know, obviously Vinland Saga, if you didn't know it, now you do. Like that's going to be the ultimate goal, trying to like create peace in the land, create a new country that doesn't always fight. There's not always conflict. We can get along. We can do stuff. So I really liked the episode. It's a bit dark, knowing like the lengths Canute will go to get what he wants. We know he's a resolved individual who will not hold back. He does have mercy, but he will still do the things he needs to do. It doesn't please him to do it, but he will still do it nonetheless to reach his goal, which is very good for his character. Now we have like ultimate confirmation that he's willing to like kill his own family members if it benefits him in the long run, which he thinks it will in this circumstance, killing his own brother. That's pretty good. Like not obviously it's incredibly heinous, but Canute has steeped down into that level of darkness, and he is there now, thriving like a madman. He's not like a psychopath like Thorfinn was back in the day, but he's really starting to like dip his toe in there to like the abyss, just a little, dip his giant big toe. I'm sure it's calloused and itchy. I don't know what I'm saying. Anyway, I really did like this episode. Animation, standard throughout the board, nothing horrible, nothing too dramatic and dynamic either. Just again, a lot of character build up with figuring out what Knut's been up to after we last saw him. I think it was episode 6 or 5, I believe, one of those where we find what he was doing in England for all those years, taking over England. He conquered it. Now he's back here, and we're gonna come really close to the storm. And now Canute is resolved to really like do his job as king, take control. Um, and it's really great. I can't wait for the Pan Ultimate event. So that was this episode. It's quite sad for like what Canute had to do, and what Canute himself is like still sad as well. It seeing two brothers fight like that, even though they don't have to. Even though you could probably realize or summarize that Harold had no ill will toward Canute at all, probably trusted him with like undying loyalty, but Canute had bigger ambitions. So he took the opportunity to get rid of his own brother to accomplish that. God, it's just so sad. You can imagine all the things that probably happened back in like this era of time. All the Everyone was just horrible. Everybody did horrible shit, and it's just so sad to watch it happen. How horrible things happen even now too. It's just uh, so sad. I'm so sad for Harold. I'm sad for Canute too. Yeah, it's the steep to these levels. Anyway, though, this is a really great episode. I liked it a lot. We're getting close to that penultimate event that's gonna happen probably next episode. Um, this is really good. All right, we're just gonna have to wait, guys. Buckle down, get settled. We're almost done with the setup. We're almost done, boys. Just be patient, okay? I think that's it, though, guys. You guys have a good day. See ya.